My name is Edith Carter, and I'm 77 years old. I wasn't anticipating a lavish party or a grand gesture. All I wanted was a quiet dinner at my son's home, a simple meal, a place at the table, and a few hours with the family I'd devoted my life to supporting. I had just finished smoothing out the navy blue dress I wore for special occasions. It wasn't extravagant, just tidy and respectable, the sort of outfit my daughter-in-law, Marissa, wouldn't scoff at. I checked the clock. It was just after 6. Dinner was set to start at 7. Then my phone vibrated. I reached for my glasses, expecting a message from Garrett, perhaps a reminder or a question about dessert. Instead, I read the words on the screen. "You're not invited. My wife doesn't want you there," just like that. 8 words, not a phone call, not a discussion, just a text. For a moment, I thought it must be a mistake. Maybe it was meant for someone else. Or perhaps Garrett's phone was compromised. But no, it was his number. It was his voice. I sank into a chair, the phone still clutched in my hand. My heart didn't just break, it unraveled. Memories flooded back. Garrett as a little boy, holding my hand tightly on his first day of school. Garrett at 12, sobbing when his dog died. Garrett introducing me to Marissa, his eyes bright with excitement. And now Garrett, a grown man, telling me I wasn't welcome. I stared at the wall, motionless, not crying, just silent. That was the moment something inside me changed. After all these years, after all I'd given. Maybe it was time to stop showing up for people who made it clear I wasn't wanted. The house was too still. I stood, walked to my antique secretary desk, a heirloom from my mother, and opened the drawer where I kept my financial records. Every folder was neatly labeled, every receipt organized. I pulled out the thickest one. It was marked Garrett. Inside was a record of a lifetime of giving. A $20,000 check to help start his business, which collapsed within a year. Tuition payments for Marissa's real estate licensing course. Bank transfers for roof repairs. A down payment for their new home, the kitchen renovation Marissa insisted on. Each document told a story, not of generosity, but of obligation. My money had been their safety net. My name was the unspoken signature on every part of their new house. 6 months ago, Garrett had called, thrilled, saying they'd found the perfect home, a stunning townhouse by a river in an upscale development. He said it would be a place for the whole family. "Mom, you'll have your own space," he promised. That space, it seemed, didn't include a seat at their table. I glanced at the brochure still sitting on my kitchen counter. I had contributed $120,000 toward their down payment. Not a loan, not an investment. It was a gift, a mother's way of saying, "I'm here, I care." Now it felt like I'd paid to be erased from their lives. I leaned back and whispered a question I'd avoided for years. Was this love or just a transaction? For the first time, I didn't rush to justify their actions. I didn't make excuses. I sat with the truth. I had given my life to them, and they had grown accustomed to it. I didn't sleep that night. The text replayed in my mind over and over. "Not invited. My wife doesn't want you there." By morning, I knew what I needed to do. I brewed a strong cup of tea, sat at the kitchen table, and looked at the stack of papers I'd pulled from the drawer. Then I picked up the phone and called the bank. "Good morning, Fairview Community Bank. How can I assist you?" "My name is Edith Carter," I said firmly. "I want to stop all automatic payments from my accounts immediately." There was a brief pause. "All payments, ma'am?" "Yes, every single one, and I also want to revoke the power of attorney I granted to my son, Garrett Carter," I heard typing on the other end. "That's a major change, Mrs. Carter. We'll need your signature to complete the process, but I can start the suspension now." "That's what I want. Begin today." The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable, it was liberating. I had supported my son, his wife, their lifestyle, their dreams, and their responsibilities for over 2 decades. But that morning, I recalled what my late husband, James, always said. "Edith, love them, but don't let them take advantage of you." When the bank representative confirmed that all 174 automatic payments were halted, I thanked her, hung up, and exhaled deeply. I hadn't realized how heavy the burden had been. The years of small sacrifices, the quiet rejections, the holidays spent alone while still paying their bills. That morning, I didn't just stop payments. I reclaimed my own life. My phone buzzed again. "Garrett." I didn't answer. Instead, I typed a brief message and stared at it for a long time. "Time to stand on your own." Then I turned off the phone and stepped into a new chapter of my life. When Garrett arrived at my door, the kettle was already whistling. He didn't knock gently. He pressed the doorbell with an impatient urgency that signaled he wasn't here for a conversation. He was here to take charge. I opened the door, and he strode in without waiting for an invitation. "Mom, what's going on?" he asked, his eyes betraying irritation beneath a thin veil of concern. "The mortgage payment failed. Marissa's car payment didn't clear. The bank called about the canceled authorizations." "Did you stop everything?" I nodded. "Yes, I did," he blinked. "Everything, all 174 transactions?" I nodded again. He collapsed into the living room chair, deflated. "Why?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just looked at him and said, "You told me I wasn't welcome at your house, Garrett, the one I helped pay for. You sent a text saying your wife didn't want me there. And you didn't even try to stop her." "That was a mistake," he stammered. "Marissa was upset. I didn't mean it." "Didn't mean to say it or didn't think it would have consequences?" I asked calmly. He looked away. I poured 2 cups of tea and set one in front of him. He didn't touch it. "We have bills," he said finally. "Loans, Toby's tuition, the house. You've always helped us." "I did," I agreed. But that help became an expectation. And then it became invisible. He opened his mouth to speak, but I raised my hand. "Tell me one thing you've done for me, Garrett," I said, my voice steady but gentle. "One thing you did because you wanted to, not because you needed something from me." He sat in silence, and in that silence I found my answer. 2 days later, Toby appeared at my door. His shirt was rumpled, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. He carried the nervous energy of someone who had never faced real consequences. I let him in without a word. He slumped onto the couch, rubbing his hands together. "Grandma, I need help," he started. "My credit card's frozen, I can't pay my rent, my car payment's overdue, I'm in trouble." I sat across from him, composed. "How much do you owe?" he hesitated. "About $7,000. "What did you spend it on?" He shrugged, avoiding my gaze. "Some things, a new phone, a trip with friends, a few parties." I nodded slowly. "You've been working for 2 years now, right? At the insurance firm?" "Yeah. So why haven't you learned to manage your money?" He looked like a scolded child, not a 23-year-old man. "I guess I always thought I could ask Mom and Dad. Or you. That's the problem," I said. "You've all grown used to thinking I'd always fix things, but I'm not your safety net, Toby. I'm not your bank." He leaned forward, desperation in his voice. "Grandma, please, just this once. I promise I'll pay you back." "No," I said firmly, "but I'll offer you something else." He looked puzzled. "Like what?" "My lawyer, Mr. Whitaker, needs a part-time assistant, filing, answering phones. It won't fix everything, but it's honest work." Toby blinked. "You'd do that for me?" "I love you," I said, "but I'm done enabling you. My love isn't measured in dollars anymore." He sat quietly, unsure how to respond. For the first time, I didn't give in. And for the first time, he heard no, not out of anger, but out of love. Real love doesn't always feel easy. Sometimes it sounds like a boundary. That evening, as the sun sank behind the trees, Rebecca arrived with a grocery bag and a gentle knock. She didn't Chinese letter didn't come for money or to plead anyone's case. She came to check on me. "Grandma," she said as I let her in, "I saw Dad today. He looked lost. Mom's furious. Toby's moping. The house is a mess." I didn't reply right away. We unpacked the groceries together. She chopped vegetables while I cooked pasta. After a while, she asked softly, "Are you okay?" I looked at her, really looked at her. Rebecca was different, quieter, more thoughtful. She never asked for much. She called on my birthday. She visited just to visit. She hugged me a little longer. "I'm okay," I said. "For the first time in a long time, I think I'm truly okay." She smiled. "Good, because I think you're doing the right thing." I raised an eyebrow. "You do," she nodded. "I've seen how they treat you, especially Mom. Always dressed in the finest, driving the best car, dining at the best places, and you're always the one paying." Her words, so blunt from someone so young, struck me. But she wasn't just a girl anymore. She was a woman who saw clearly. "You've taken care of everyone for so long," Rebecca said. "It's time someone took care of you." We ate dinner together, just the two of us. No tension, no expectations, just a simple meal and real conversation. Before she left, she hugged me tightly. "I'll always be here for you, Grandma," she said. "Not for your money, for you." I kissed her cheek. That's all I ever wanted. In a house that had echoed with demands, Rebecca's presence felt genuine. It reminded me what family should be: safe, sincere, and free. The next day, Garrett called again. "Mom, we need to talk. As a family." His voice was stiff, rehearsed. I heard Marissa in the background. "Tomorrow at 2, I said. "My house, no surprises." But surprises came. At precisely 2 o'clock, Garrett arrived first. He looked worn out, shirt creased, eyes tired. "Mom," he said, "I wanted to talk before everyone else gets here." "Everyone else?" He hesitated. "Marissa invited a few people, her parents, her sister. They're worried." I glanced out the window and froze. 3 cars pulled into my driveway. Marissa stepped out, dressed impeccably, followed by her parents, siblings, and a couple of friends. I turned to Garrett. "You brought a crowd?" "She thinks," he began, but I cut him off. The doorbell rang and I opened it slowly. Marissa stood there, surrounded by her entourage. "Good afternoon, Edith," she said loudly, projecting for effect. "We're here to address this situation as a family." "This is my home," I said calmly. "Not a courtroom or a boardroom, just my home, and I didn't invite them." Marissa's smile wavered. She turned to her family. "Please wait in the cars. We won't be long." They left reluctantly. Inside, I faced my son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. "So," I said evenly, "who's going to explain what this gathering is really about?" Marissa launched into a speech. "Your financial decision impacts us all. My parents' retirement, Garrett's brother's situation, Toby's future." I listened, arms crossed, silent. When she paused, I asked, "And when did I become responsible for all of that?" No one answered. They knew the truth. They weren't here to mend a relationship. They were here to preserve their lifestyle. The silence grew heavy. Garrett spoke, his voice low. "Mom, we've relied on you. You've always been there. We didn't think you'd ever stop." I nodded. "Exactly, you didn't think, you just took." I turned to Toby. "When was the last time you visited just to see me, not because you needed money?" He shifted uncomfortably. "And Marissa," I said, facing her, "name one thing you've done for me without expecting something in return." She opened her mouth, then closed it. "You see," I continued, "it's not just the money that hurts, it's the erasure. The way I vanished from your lives the moment I stopped paying." Marissa's composure cracked. Her voice turned sharp. "This is manipulation. You're trying to guilt us." "No," I said. "I'm telling the truth for once." She stood abruptly. "You'll regret this. When you're alone with no one left, you'll wish you hadn't pushed us away." I didn't waver. "Family isn't just a word we use when we want something," I said softly. "It's a choice we make every day with our actions, not our bills." Garrett's eyes were wet. "What do you want, Mom? An apology for us to beg?" "No," I said. "I want you to grow up. I want you to stop mistaking love for dependence, and I want you to leave." The words were calm but powerful. Toby stood without argument. Marissa muttered under her breath as she stormed out. Garrett hesitated, uncertain. "I'll be here," I told him. "If you ever want to talk, really talk, not about money, but about us." He nodded slowly and left. Only Rebecca stayed to hug me. "I'm proud of you, Grandma," she whispered. I didn't reply. I just held her close. For the first time in years, I had nothing to prove, nothing to give but the truth. 6 months later, I was no longer anyone's emergency contact, financial crutch, or silent benefactor. I was just Edith. I spent mornings on the porch, sipping coffee and reading books I'd long neglected. I walked through the park where James and I used to wander. I even joined an art class at the community center, something I'd always wanted but never made time for. Rebecca visited often. She never asked for anything. She came to talk, to laugh, to share her life with me. She was my only family tie now, and that was enough. Garrett and Marissa's calls faded. After a few more tries, some apologetic, some demanding, they stopped. Rebecca told me they sold the house and moved to a smaller apartment. Marissa took on extra work. Garrett learned to budget. Toby surprisingly took the job with Mr. Whitaker. I saw him once at the store. He looked weary but more mature, less entitled. We exchanged a quiet hello. That was enough. And me? I went to Italy. It was James's dream, one we'd put off too long. Rebecca urged me to go. "Do it for you, Grandma," she said. "Just for you." So I did. Now I sit on a terrace in Tuscany, watching the sun set over sprawling vineyards. Lorne, my oldest friend, laughs beside me, jotting in her travel journal. "You look lighter," she says. "I am," I reply, because I finally let go of the weight of others' expectations, and in doing so I found what I'd always wanted. Peace, not just the absence of chaos, but the presence of self. The quiet strength of someone who no longer needs to be needed to feel complete. That evening, as the Tuscan sky glowed gold and purple, my phone buzzed. Garrett's name appeared. 6 months ago, I'd have answered instantly, hopeful, ready to fix whatever was wrong. Now I looked at the screen and let it go dark. I didn't need another promise. I didn't need to be drawn back into a cycle I'd finally escaped. Instead, I lifted my wine glass, toasted the horizon, and whispered, "To me." The me who always came last. The me who stayed quiet at uninviting tables, who smiled through lonely birthdays, who paid bills with trembling hands and called it love. She was gone. In her place was a woman who learned that freedom doesn't come from letting go of people. It comes from letting go of their permission. I don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. I don't owe anyone my savings, my time, or a seat at a table where I'm not wanted. What I owe myself at this stage of life is honesty. Rebecca texted that night. A photo of her new apartment with a simple note. Grandma, I can't wait for you to visit. I made a room just for you, always. I smiled. Because sometimes the legacy we leave isn't the money we gave or the homes we built. It's the truth we dared to speak, and the boundaries we were brave enough to set. If this story touched your soul, share it. Because someone out there needs to know it's never too late to reclaim your power, and you're never too old to start anew.